Hey folks, welcome to this week's episode of Geeking Out. On this week's episode, we're reviewing Superman, Last Stand of New Krypton, number 1, Twilight, the graphic novel, volume 1, Cold Blooded Chillers, Tales of Suburban Murder and Malice, 2012, Final Prayer, Transformers, Bumblebee number 4, and Gold Digger number 115.
Hey there fans in Comic Land, it's Leila here from the Comic Connection for this week's comic book reviews on Geeking Out. First up, we've got a special surprise for you. This is the Twilight graphic novel, Volume 1, which does not come out until this coming Tuesday. But since we got it delivered early, I thought I would review it all for you. For some of you Twilight fans out there, I know that there are some of you.
There are? Really?
There are some.
Really?
There are a few.
Okay.
Few. So anyway, maybe not all of you guys, but, you know, perhaps some of our viewers out there will appreciate this or want to know whether it's worth picking up. So, this graphic novel covers about halfway through the first book. So we see Edward and Bella meet, and then she figures out that he's a vampire and that he's sparkly, so it'll show you just one of the pages here for people while we talk. The art is actually really gorgeous. This is adapted and has art by Young Kim. So it's not all in color. It's mostly black and white with some color swatches. So anyways, was it good, was it bad? It is a pretty faithful adaptation. You know, some of the exact details of how and where things happen are slightly changed, but, you know, for a Twilight fan, I don't think that that's going to be too big of a deal. You're mostly going to like that this is pretty faithfully adapted. The art is really nice, and it's the story that you already know and love. So if you're a Twilight fan, I don't know why you wouldn't pick it up. If you're not a Twilight fan and you don't really want to read the book to see what it's all about, and you just want, you know, a quickie version of the story, then these might be for you too. Not a Twilight fan, probably don't want to pick it up because you won't like it at all. But, you know, for you Twilight fans out there, make sure to pick it up on Tuesday. Next up, we've got a viewer send-in. This is R.M. Heske's Cold Blooded Chillers. Now, this is filled with stories of fear, pain, hatred, and murder, and the stories are really chilling. You know, some are good, some are bad. Mostly the art and the storytelling is really well done. Heske's talent is really that he takes something that's sort of everyday and trivial and simple, and then all of a sudden can turn it on its head. Or it takes something that's really ugly and makes it really, really, really ugly. So this was really satisfying for me, as sort of like, I like the horror genre and all that, so I really enjoyed it. If you're a horror fan, definitely a book for you to pick up. And last but not least, we've got Superman, Last Stand of New Krypton, number 1 of 3, written by James Robinson and Sterling Cates, with art by Pete Woods. So in this one, Brainiac finally attacks New Krypton and his ally is revealed. Kal-El disagrees with Zod's battle strategy and leaves the Red Shard, and once again dons the mantle of the Superman costume. Also, the Legion of Superheroes arrive to aid the Kandorians and ask for Zod's help. And the story is going to continue in Supergirl number 51, for those of you that want to continue on for this whole storyline. So what I gotta say about it is, this was a really great book. The clash with Brainiac is finally here, and it's really exciting, and, you know, it's not too surprising who his ally is, really. But the story promises to be epic. This is probably the first time in a long while that there's been something really exciting going on in the Superman universe, so if you're not up to speed, this is a fairly decent place to start if you haven't been reading so far. Make sure to pick it up.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic reviews. First up, Gold Digger, number 115, written and drawn by Fred Perry. And in this one, an exhibition in Egypt ends in disaster for the group known as Team Elite, and they must call on Gina for help before a horde of beasts escapes. This is not a bad issue of Gold Digger. It's coming along nicely story-wise, but I think that this issue actually really harkens back to the roots of Gold Digger and parody and fun. It's just a fun, all-out issue, and there's a lot of really fun stuff that is just, if you're not a manga fan or an anime fan, you're not going to get, but it's really funny if you do get it. Next up, a viewer send-in from R.M. Heske, 2012, Final Prayer by various people. Basically in this one, it's the end of the world, and just how it happens depends on the story you read, as 20 graphic tales, short stories, and essays come together to bring various visions of our possible futures. Now, as we all know, the world's going to end in 2 years, so enjoy your sex while you have it, because in two years, we're all going to be dead. Well, maybe. According to the Mayans, we'll be dead, but this is not a bad anthology series. The thing with Heske is he has a lot of really good artists and a lot of pretty subpar artists as well. Other than that, I mean, it's a really good anthology. There's really good stories. There's actual stories in here where you actually care about the characters, even though they're only 5 to 10 pages long. Really good. I mean, I'm actually really like this anthology. There's one story I hated to bits just for the simplistic art that is terrible, but when you read the story, you can get past that for most of it. So yeah, it's a pretty good book. If you're looking for something different, Heske is definitely where it's at for differential takes on storytelling. And last and certainly least is Transformers Bumblebee #4, written by Xander Cannon with supposed art by Chi. And in this one, Bumblebee must save his new human friends from the fury of Skywarp. Who's gonna stop at nothing to get what he wants. Yeah. I was not a fan of Chi's art, and this just makes it worse, and this is probably his worst art to date, and it just is terrible. I can't stand this book. Story-wise, it's okay. Xander Cannon's story is actually very well thought out, but the art really drags this book down, and I mean terribly drags it down. It's just terrible from beginning to end, and I don't understand why IDW hires people like this and Uru. Why IDW? Why? See you next week.
Hey there, fans of Comic Land. It's time for this week's comic book reviews on Geeking Out for the Comic Connection. Let's try that again. That was terrible.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic book reviews. First up, Gold Digger #115, written and drawn by Fred Perry. And in this one, an exhibition in